Howdy, farm friends. How you doing tonight? We have some exciting stuff going on the farm that we want to talk about tonight. So we are going to give everybody just a minute here to see who all wants to join this evening. And while we're doing that, I am going to go ahead and pull up our chats here so we can see if anybody has questions or comments or anything, because we love to talk to y'all. So thanks so much for being here tonight.
I don't want kisses.
Lady is trying to give kisses.
I just got home from work, so she's still on her excitement.
Oh,
from me
yes.
getting home, aren't you? Yeah, I'm excited.
Let's see here.
Sweet lady.
So, got some more folks jumping on now, so that is wonderful.
I hope you've all had a good day. It's
Yes.
been a little rainy and wet off and on here. No storms, but just kind of a off and on drizzle.
Yep. Okay. For some reason, I don't know that
Is
we
Facebook
are
not working?
live on... Okay, there we go.
There we
Yeah,
are.
we're on Facebook. Great. Got it to pull up, so now we can see everybody out there. Facts matter. Good to see you again. Yes, Eleanor has chick babies.
Yes, she
And
does.
she was excited when she got home, just like y'all said she would be. Y'all knew that she would be excited, and she was. So let's see here. Gloria says, hope you guys had a good day at work. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I took a personal day today to get some stuff done and to knock some stuff out, and I did. It was a good day.
Yeah, he even did laundry.
I did a lot of laundry today.
He did really good.
There are clean clothes in the closet.
I'm going to move this just a little bit.
Yeah, there we go. Let's see here. Mary says, hello from Panama City. Love you guys. Oh, Mary, thanks. We love Panama City. We haven't been there in a while, but we actually spent the first week of quarantine in Panama City.
Yes, we were. The cruise that we just took was our makeup cruise from when the world shut down. We were in New Orleans about to get on a cruise ship the next morning, take Eleanor out of the country for the first time when they canceled everything, and we went on a backup trip in Panama City, and we got there and we didn't know for the first couple of days that there was a water boil ordinance. Like, we got no messaging or anything, and of course, like, the news was packed with other stuff that was going on, and so we learned a few days after we had been drinking the water that there was a boil ordinance. So
Yeah.
oops.
Luckily, we didn't get too
We were
sick or
fine.
anything like that.
We
We were
were
okay. And we had a good little trip there in Panama City, and I think that they may have closed the beaches a couple of weeks after we left.
They did. They did.
So we were lucky to squeeze that little vacation in when we did. Let's see here. We've got hello from Oregon, Tabitha from Savannah. Hello.
I didn't know
hello.
Tabitha was in Savannah. Tabitha, I just went to Savannah for the first time at the end of August. We went through Savannah going up to Beaufort, South Carolina for a family wedding. Zach didn't get to go. I went on a girls' trip with my mom and my aunt. But I loved Savannah, and I want to go back and spend some more time. Hey, Miss Judy, it's Sneed's Farmhouse.
Yeah, hey Judy, how are you? Let's see here. Lynn said, did she see any hatching before she was at school? So, did Eleanor see any of the chicks hatching before she went to school? Yes. In fact, she woke us up last night because she heard the chicks peeping. And somehow we got her to go back to sleep without going and looking.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like a
We're
Christmas
like,
morning
you
situation.
gotta wait to see them in the morning. We had 4.
I think we had 4
We had 4
before she went
hatched
to
this
school this
morning.
morning.
And I actually don't know how many we're up to.
I think
Is it
we
6?
I think we have 6. I don't think we've had any more hatch since I was on earlier live. I think we may be just
But they're
about
fluffy.
done. Yes, they're fluffy
fluffy.
and cute. Let's throw Here, I'm gonna throw.
He's got the live chick cam up.
Yeah,
We're
live
getting really
chick
techie
cam.
over here.
So I'm gonna put us up in the corner
Yeah,
real
there
quick.
they are.
There is the live chick cam. There we go.
That one was asleep.
That one perked up. That looks like they're all hanging out on the backside there, and the phone camera is gonna try and.
I can go tap on the.
Okay, Jacqueline's gonna go mess with them over there.
So it doesn't just go in.
But yeah, we figured out this morning. I figured out how to get get my phone set as a second camera for us on lives, so we can do a live chick cam while we're talking tonight. And I had so much fun doing that with y'all earlier. So thanks for everybody that was there earlier. Let's see here. 74 in Wiley, Texas. Token, does that mean that it's 74 degrees, or does that mean that you're 74? Either way,
I bet it's 74 degrees.
I bet it's 74 degrees. It's a little bit cooler than that here. I think it's in the 60s, the mid 60s or so.
A couple came over.
Gloria said everyone needs a day off once in a while. Yes,
Yeah.
Indeed. That is very true.
We're pretty spoiled with our jobs.
Yes.
So we've got a full week, this full week, and then next week, and then we are off until after the new year. We get that much time off, which is absolutely wonderful. It's why we are where we are, so that we get extra time around the holidays with family. So we have some farm projects to do.
Yes, we do.
I have a bunch of client website work to do, so there's lots of fun things coming from our friends, Chestnut Hills Farmstead, Just Dig It Farms, Cog Hill Farm, and maybe a few more. So they're all going to have some stuff coming out really soon. Really enjoy working on that. I've got a lot to get done.
Oh, yes.
Sweet lady.
Nana's Little Love says, I can't wait till I get my hatching eggs from you.
Oh, Nana.
Yes, those orders will open up in January.
January 1st. We'll have our pre-orders open for hatching eggs. And the way that we do hatching eggs is just as soon as we are able to do some test hatches and know that fertility is good in our separated breeding pens, we can start shipping hatching eggs. And hatching eggs are always post office pickup as well as chicks. And what that does, that ensures they don't sit out in the cold. If it is still freezing temps in your area, you'll physically go to the post office to pick them up so they don't sit out in the weather. So
Yep.
I'm able to ship them earlier because of that.
Yep. And we enjoy doing hatching eggs. We don't get us wrong. We enjoy the chicks, but I think I feel better about the hatching eggs, even though they're so much of a gamble.
Chicks are the guarantee. Hatching eggs are the gamble.
Yeah.
Hatching eggs is a better price for, compared to paying for the chicks. But chicks are the guarantee, but you wait longer to get them, and hatching eggs are that gamble. But as you can see, these are shipped eggs from another breeder and then someone local, and we really had a good hatch rate from the shipped eggs versus the local eggs.
Yeah.
So you just never know.
Yeah.
You just never know.
You really don't.
I love I know the phone is trying to focus, but the really yellow chicks in the very back. I've got to talk to the breeder, but I'm pretty sure one of them is a chocolate splash, and then the other may end up being a paint. So I've got to talk to him and find out. The two in the very front, the one laying down, is blue, and then the one right behind it that looks a little brown is mauve, which is chocolate and blue together. It makes what's called mauve. And I actually think the really dark one that we thought was black earlier today, now that I'm home and I can see it, I'm pretty sure it's chocolate. Eleanor's bringing me a snack to open.
I didn't know that it was opened.
I don't think it's been opened.
Yeah, I think you're good, baby girl.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. That's good.
So, let's see. We got a few more folks jumping on. Hey, y'all. Hello from Vancouver, Washington State. Hello. Hi from Belgium. Hey, Tracy. Nice to have you here.
I love seeing those further distances.
Yes,
It's so
I
cool.
know. It's so great. Let's see here.
Pass out the cigars.
Yeah,
for
that's right, Bruce. Let's see here. Nana's little love says she'll have to wait a little while because she lives in Minnesota.
Yes.
But we'll have some for you. Don't worry.
And anytime an order comes in from a state that I know has a cold winter, I will check the forecast and then I'll email back and forth and we can work out a time if when they're ready, you're not ready. So thankfully with us being a small, I call us a homestead hatchery, I can communicate with people one-on-one on any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we're pretty flexible most of the time when it comes to eggs. We're not always we can't always be flexible when it comes to chicks because we have to hatch them and they have to be shipped immediately within the first day.
We hatch those to order, and so that's why we do pre-orders for those, so they are guaranteed.
Yep. And so to bring up another question that we had earlier, somebody asked what the time span was for hatching chicken eggs, and so that is right at 21 days.
And sometimes bantam eggs, the silkies or bantams, sometimes they'll hatch a little early, with being a smaller egg. That chick right up front.
Here, I'll move us over so we can see its
so
face.
Cute. Eleanor walked by, so I have a feeling that's why they did that.
There we go.
Bantam eggs can hatch a couple of hours early to a whole day earlier, but typically everybody's hatching right at 21 days. And it kind of goes to show too, this incubator, one reason we love this incubator is it has very, very even temperature coverage. And what that means is all of these eggs were incubating consistently at 99.5 degrees for 21 days, and they've all hatched just about at the same time. We may have a couple of late hatchers, but that just means even temperature. Nobody incubated slower or faster than any others. When we first started incubating, we had some pretty terrible incubators.
Oh, yeah.
And we even had an old vintage redwood incubator that had been sitting in my grandparents' barn for a long time. And even though we had 3 different thermometers going, we ended up incubating those eggs between 102 and 106 degrees.
Yeah, it was a challenge.
Believe it or not, some still hatched. But that was a huge learning experience for us. So a good incubator absolutely makes all the difference.
Real quick, Diane says, hello from Diane in Wisconsin. I enjoyed your live this morning watching a baby chick hatch. So cute. Well, Diane, thanks so much for being back tonight. We really appreciate you. And glad that you enjoyed this morning.
Anne said, how long do we let the eggs go after 21 days? So on day 22, so a day after they were supposed to hatch, we've got a few eggs left in there. So tomorrow on day 22, I will take each egg out and candle them and see if I see any movement, because sometimes you can see where the chick has pipped through the air cell. They haven't hatched, they haven't broken through the outer shell, they haven't pipped yet, but they will have broken through the air cell, and when that happens you can see their little beak move. So I'll look for movement. If I don't see any movement, I'll leave them one more whole day. So on day 23, if I don't see any movement, no more activity, we'll go ahead and put those eggs in the compost pile.
And that typically a day is more than enough. And like Jacqueline was saying, candling to see if there's any movement.
There are some other methods that you can try. Maybe if you don't have a good egg candler, on day 22 or 23, they have what's called the water test, where you can fill a glass of water with warm water and put the egg in there and see if the egg moves at all. That's kind of a gravity test. So if the egg moves and you couldn't see into it very well, that would indicate that there is a chick still alive in there and you can continue incubating that egg.
Tracy had a question about a hatch she had earlier this year. She said only one of them hatched, and it was a cross-beak blind chick. What went wrong? Tracy, real quick, and we'll give you just a little bit to catch up to this part because there's a slight delay in our feed. Let us know if you had those shipped to you, or if they were your own flock, or if you got them from somebody locally so they didn't have to be shipped.
And even how you incubated them.
Yeah. Because there can be
There's a lot.
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of different factors that go into chicks. If the temperature isn't just right, it can cause stuff like that. But also, most of the time, stuff like that has to do with genetics. And that
I would
doesn't
say temperature and genetics.
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean that the birds that you bred have bad genes, but it could mean that they just kind of crossed weird. Okay, Tracy said they were from her own flock. How long did you wait before putting them into the incubator when you got them, Tracy? Tracy said a cheap incubator. So if I had to guess, I would say it's probably the temperature. And
so an example, when we incubated those eggs at a really high temperature by accident with that vintage incubator, we saw a lot of deformities. We saw crossbeak, we saw short beaks, we saw curled toes, we saw splay leg. When they're at a higher temperature like that, you're kind of forcing development too fast. And we didn't know, it was totally accidental. We thought that our temperature gauges were reading right. We even had some expensive ones in there.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up putting a mercury thermometer in there, and that finally told us that the temperature had been way too high. But a lot of still air. There are usually two different types of incubators, circulated air and still air. And still air just means there's no fan moving that air around, and they can have hot spots. If things get too dry and too hot, it'll cause deformities and stuff like that. So we've worked for 2 years to get our incubation stuff right, and the incubator you see right now is just a little small batch incubator. It holds 22 eggs, and it's the Nurture Right 360 from Harris Farms, and you can pick them up at Tractor Supply and Rural King or Amazon. We have a link in our Amazon shop to it, but the incubator that we use for our hatchery is a big cabinet incubator. It'll hold 270 full-size chicken eggs, and it's a GQF Sportsman, I think 1502 or something like that. It's not a 1500.
Yeah, one of those.
But they're manufactured in Georgia, and they are awesome cabinet incubators. We really love it. Happy to answer any questions about it anytime. But having a good incubator is really key, and testing it, and sometimes that means hatches like that.
And so Tracy also said that it had never happened before. She'd had plenty of hatches before. So Tracy, what I would say is if you've been using that same incubator for a while, it could be that the thermometer or hygrometer on that incubator is kind of out of calibration. And so what I suggested to some of the folks earlier this morning when we talked a little bit about incubators is if you're using an incubator and you think you might be having trouble with your temperature or your humidity, and so even if you're just getting started with a new incubator, let's say you've ordered some hatching eggs from a breeder and you've spent some money on them, and you want to make sure that your incubator is doing well before you put those eggs in. Before those eggs get to you, go ahead and set the incubator up, and you want to do that anyways. You need to have your incubator completely up to temperature and the right humidity levels before you put the eggs in there. But go ahead and do that, and get a little combination thermometer, hygrometer, and hygrometer is one way to say it. Hydrometer is another way to say it. But you put them in into the incubator and let it sit in there for a day or so and just kind of watch it and see
Yeah, even a
what
couple
happens.
of days. It doesn't hurt to have it set up for a week, and just kind of monitor. But there are so many different things that can go on. It can be, just the genetics didn't cross well in the flock for a couple of eggs, and then something else happened with the others. It doesn't have to be that it was the same thing for every egg.
Right.
They're so cute.
Yes,
that
they
light
are.
color one keeps popping up. And the chocolate one.
Let's
that one
take
is
a look at this
absolutely
one
chocolate. That's
hiding
in the
behind
middle.
us real quick.
Hey, chickies!
Okay, there we go. Now we can take a peek at the one that was hiding behind our.
Y'all, look at that
picture
chocolate
there.
right in the middle. So that's the same color that Bonbon is, that we take to shows. And these are from the same breeder. So I'm really excited about these. And chicks don't always make it. I'll say that too. And don't ever feel bad if you have some chicks pass away. Sometimes things just aren't just right. But
birds are so fragile.
yes, they are. We had Lucille, and we still have Lucille. We have Lucille, and then we started with chickens. And goodness, since we got the goats, we have really been reminded how fragile chickens are. We have people contact us all the time. What happened to my chicken? It was doing this, and now its legs twisted, and just all kinds of things. They're very fragile creatures, and everything likes to eat chicken. So, unfortunately, we lose some, and that's just part of life. That's part of farm life.
Yeah.
It's part of having animals. The more you have, that percentage that you can lose goes up. That's just that's math.
And unfortunately, people don't like to talk about animals passing away, or especially if they're breeding those animals to sell. But it's just it's the truth of the matter. And so a lot of people will jump right in headfirst to hatching or chicken keeping, and then they wind up with several fatalities in the first few weeks, and they get discouraged, and that's it for them. But just know, if it happens to you, that's something that happens.
And do your research ahead of time.
And even people who have kept chickens for decades, it happens too.
Well, they're like us.
Yeah.
We haven't had them for decades, but anybody we talk to that's had them for any length of time, when they lose a bird, they're sad, but at the same time, having them, that's part of it.
Yeah. I've been known to say to folks who have had chickens for a while, to relate to them, I go, well, chickens like to die,
They do.
For some reason, they, and I really think it is just because birds are very fragile. So a question that has been asked by a couple folks already, Libby over on Facebook, and let's see, Karen over on Facebook, have both asked, how soon after hatching do the chicks need nourishment? So how fast do they need to eat?
How soon after they hatch do they need food? So once they're fully dry, like all of these are dry now and fluffed up, I could take them out if I wanted to and put them in a brooder with food and water. But a mother hen wouldn't take her freshly hatched babies out to look for food and water. And the reason is, an egg, when you crack it into a bowl, it has the yolk and it has, the white. And the yolk is actually absorbed into the chick's stomach. That doesn't go into the development of the chick. It is its nourishment. That yellow egg yolk absorbs into the chick's stomach, and it sustains them for up to 72 hours, sometimes past that. And so that's how we're able to ship them, and it's how people have been shipping them for so long, is they don't need any food and water for 72 hours after they hatch. Their bellies are full, and that's so awesome. So that goes for baby birds as well, like just birds in general, not just chickens. They absorb that egg yolk, and so the parents aren't having to leave the nest to go and find food where the babies will get cold. It gives them some time to get some feathers and to have a good start in life, stay extra warm before they actually have to be fed. And so same thing for chickens. The mama hen will sit on the nest usually for a whole day, And what we've witnessed is by 24 to 48 hours, she's getting off the nest and taking them to find food and water.
Yeah, and it makes sense for from an evolutionary standpoint as well, because when a chicken sits on a nest and it's got a clutch of eggs, those eggs were not all laid on the same day.
Mm-hmm.
And they've probably experienced a variation in temperatures.
Yeah.
And so some of them may have kicked off a little bit earlier than others. And so if a mother hen can sit for a couple of days there on the freshly hatched chicks,
Yeah.
then it gives those other eggs a chance to hatch as well.
That was something I got really frustrated with the ducks that we had go broody this summer.
Yep.
And we've had like 4 different mama ducks go broody and not successfully hatch any eggs. And they would start sitting and then eggs would get added to the nest, and I couldn't keep up with, because the ducks just nest wherever they want to in the big pen that they're in, or in the barn when they're out.
Yeah.
We had one sit in the barn forever, and she hatched a chicken egg, and that chick, I ended up having to take it from her and put it in with the silkies because she just kept sitting and she wasn't taking care of the chicks. So yeah, they'll continue sitting for several days and hatching chicks, and then they'll get up and abandon the nest. They can only wait so long.
Yep. With our ducks, I don't think we've had breeds that are good at
Yeah, I
hatching.
agree with that.
we don't keep Muscovy ducks, which are a very
Broody,
very
very
broody
broody
breed. They do an excellent job of hatching ducklings, and so when you see somewhere that's just completely overrun with ducks, a lot of times it's Muscovies, because they are so good at hatching, and they're very good at sharing the responsibility of raising the ducklings.
Yeah, among a couple of different ducks. And they can also roost. So they'll fly up in a tree and roost, whereas most ducks, any of the domesticated breeds, they can't fly, and so they're on the ground, and they're more susceptible to predators all the time too.
We have a few questions coming in. I'm going to go ahead. We're going to do one that is closely related to what we were just talking about before we go to the next one that actually came in before this one. But this one is how long do you keep the chicken live to eat while they're okay? So what I'm going to say this one means, I'm going to guess that it means how do you keep them fed while they're sitting on the eggs? And so a mother hen will go off and get food really quickly and come right back to the nest. In fact, just 2 days ago, we had a Moran's hen that had gone broody and had been sitting on some eggs. She got up and left the nest that she had made in the barn, and I thought she was abandoning it. And so I could hear cheeping from an egg that was hatching.
She had been hidden really well in a cardboard box in our barn. We didn't know how long she'd been sitting because of that. So we didn't know when to start checking.
I never would have thought that it would have been long enough for one of them to hatch. And so, so I picked up the egg thinking, well, I'm going to take it inside and put it in the incubator with these eggs because these were getting ready to hatch. And then as I turned to leave, I looked over, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw the mama hen coming back. And so she hadn't been gone even long enough for the eggs to cool down just a little bit, but she had run over to get some food and water and came right back.
They get up once a day to go to the restroom too. They do not potty in their nests. They keep it clean, so they get up, and if you've ever had a broody hen, that is the worst poop. I'll just say it. It is the worst smelling because they hold it for a whole day or more before they'll get up and leave their nest and go to the bathroom. So they go do everything at once. We usually try to keep food and water close by, but with her being in the barn, she had the pond right there, and there's feed just everywhere between the pasture and then the big pen. So she didn't have to go very far to get anything. I don't like to put food and water right next to the nest, especially in that situation, because I don't want to draw mice to where she is. And I mean, if you have farm animals, if you have hay, if you have a barn, you have mice.
Yeah. And Those mice love eggs.
They love feathers too.
Yeah.
They like to eat feathers for the calcium.
Yep. And so Susan asked, as you were saying that, can you put food by the chicken to eat?
Yeah, if they're in a coop, that's fine. And a ton of people do that, especially if they have a hen go broody in a nesting box that's like up higher. But they'll put food and water close to them. But with her being in the barn, we didn't. I have in the past, when Moon hatched her chicks, we moved Moon and her chicks to our little Tractor Supply coop, and they kept food and water in there all the time with them.
Yeah.
And with her.
So we mentioned that if we put food by the hen, sometimes it can draw mice in, and so mice are
or other not fun things.
Yeah, exactly. So predators there. And Brown Thumb Nursery had asked, have you lost any chickens to hawks? And we have. We've lost one.
But percentage wise, like very, very few. Yeah, we had a huge hawk last year that we noticed was patrolling the field, and it ended up getting one of my olive egg roosters. He went down protecting everybody else, and that same hawk the same day took the tail off of one of our black copper marans. But he was getting the hens to safety, and then the other rooster ended up losing his life fighting that hawk. We've only seen one more, and it was really recently in the last couple of months, at the end of the summer. And I was taking Lady outside. I was at the back door, and I opened the back door to let her out, and all of a sudden there was a hawk flying at me. And I was like, and it went past us, and it didn't try to go after Lady. I just scared it. It was sitting on top of the silky coop out there, and I just startled it when I came out. But it flew up over the house and into the oak trees. And we noticed it patrolling a little bit, but I would be out there. We kept the chickens up, and then we would let them out. And we wouldn't see anything, but we didn't end up losing any that we know of to that hawk. We did lose some of Moon's babies. They were about a month and a half old, but I'm not sure if it was to the hawk or if it was to something else. With them being so small still, it could have even been some other chickens that didn't
I have a feeling that those were some of the cats that roam the area.
That too.
We have several cats that are just kind of, I guess they're feral.
Brown Thumb Nursery, it's 100%. So us having the geese has absolutely kept anything from bothering the ducks. Now the geese aren't hanging out with the chickens. Now we could this coming year. I think we have a pair. I think we have a male and a female goose. So there's a chance that they will have some eggs this spring. They have like a hatching season. We could hatch some geese and let them be raised with the chicken flocks, because they'll kind of protect the flock that they're raised with. We could do that. I've thought about that because it has gone so well with having the geese with the other ducks. I don't know if it's prevented us from losing any chickens to this point, but definitely the ducks, because I was very, very worried with that hawk with the ducks, because we lost our first and our favorite duck that we ever got to a hawk, and it actually was attacked in the pond. Which hawks, when something is in the water, when a duck's in the water, they can only see half of the duck, so their judgment is a bit off on if that's something that they can get and take, and that's what happened. The duck was attacked by the hawk, and then the hawk couldn't get it out of the pond. So it's part of it, and you hate it, but you're also grateful for what you have.
Yeah, we have some folks that live close by that said they've got a hawk in the area. Thank you, Miss May and Mr. May, for that. We will keep an eye out, and we have been seeing a small hawk.
We see the Mississippi kites too.
Yeah, well, the kites, really, they just go after like grasshoppers and stuff. They like to follow me around when I'm mowing grass and get the grasshoppers as they jump out from in front of me. We had somebody ask a minute ago, let's see, Jenny over on YouTube said, normally people take the egg turner out any specific reason you left it in, just curious.
Hold on. I'm always the person that's like, take the egg turner out. Take it out. Because a lot of people, it'll keep turning, and that's really bad. But ours auto stops, and you can say, I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, so honestly, it's just because this kind of snuck up on us, and we had a busy weekend, and we didn't take the turner out. But like Jacqueline said, ours stops automatically at 3 days before hatch. And so even if you accidentally leave it in, it won't keep turning and hurt the chicks or anything like that. So instead of
when I open it to candle those other eggs, I'll go ahead and take the turner out. I like to take it out so that they have more space. But they can't get stuck or anything. There's plenty of space around the edges that they won't get stuck. But I like to take it out. I usually take it out on lockdown day, but on lockdown day we were super busy, and we went out of town this weekend just for the day. And when I came back, the humidity in the house was really low. We run a dehumidifier, and the humidity in the house was really low, and I was like, I don't want to open the incubator and disturb the humidity that's set in there, because it was perfect. So we didn't this time. You don't always have to. You just need to make sure the turning mechanism is unplugged so that it won't keep turning with your chicks in there.
Yeah. Another question came up. Okay. Karen on Facebook said, are some chickens more hardy or easier to hatch than others?
Yes.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Well, maybe it's that some are more difficult to hatch than others, but there are definitely some breeds that you're going to have a higher survival rate with.
So if you think about it this way, and I'll usually use terms of like breeding dogs. So you're not supposed to breed a daughter to a father or a son to a mother with breeding mammals. Now with birds, it's totally different. Their genome is way more diverse, but still anything that is a pure breed and is a heritage breed and it's been bred for a long time, a lot of times people have not diversified the genetics over, we're talking 20 generations or more. The genetics haven't been diversified by bringing in other lines of those heritage breeds, and you'll have genetic narrowing, and all that means is the genes in their genome have interacted before, and because of that you have a higher likelihood of seeing deformities and then seeing hatchability problems. Also, hatchability can come down to the age of the hen. As they get up in years, their eggs are harder to hatch. But what we have found so far is Marans, those dark, beautiful chocolate eggs that we love so much, they are harder to hatch. And I think this hatch is really proof of that too, because shipped eggs versus local Marans eggs from someone that we know and trust, we did not have a great hatch rate at all with the Marans eggs. It looks like we're going to get 1 out of like 8 or 9 eggs. And so we found those harder to hatch, and we have found that some purebred chickens, heritage breeds, have been harder to hatch. The most hardy chickens that you're going to have are mutts. Because the genetics have never mingled before, most likely. So your olive eggers, your Easter eggers, any of these hatchery created mixed breeds for laying, you'll see them labeled as sex links and stuff like that. That's a whole other thing.
And that's also assuming that the stock that those came from were healthy stocks too.
Yeah.
And so don't get us wrong. Heritage breeds can be very stock,
like our
very
Wyandottes.
hardy.
Our Wyandottes that's a heritage breed, and they are super hardy. And we have a few different lines. We have silver lace, we have golden lace, and we have blue lace red, black lace red, splash lace red. And they have excellent hatch rates with their eggs. Our Americanas, they've been around they've been around a long time, but they've been an accepted breed since the 70s, late 70s, and we have great hatch rates from them. The lavender feather variety is known to have some like genetic weakening properties, and so we have to be careful. We have 3 different lines here that we have crossed together to make sure that we are maintaining a really diverse genome with, and I may be using these terms wrong. There's going to be a geneticist in the in the comments somewhere that watches this. It's like, she's using all the terms wrong, but the genome is broader, and so it's less likely to encounter any deformities, because all of those traits are going to be recessive, so you need 2 copies in order to see those issues.
Yep. And that, we say that we've got 3 different lines of those Americanas that we've crossed in. But if you go far enough back with most breeds like that, especially specialized varieties, you will typically find that they share some of the same, or the same line at some point. But there will be some genetic diversity that comes out of being split.
I don't know the term off the top of my head, but I know the chicken genome was mapped like 15 years ago or so, and it has 21 different, I don't know the term, but there are 21 variables.
Mm-hmm. Chromosomes? Is that what you're thinking of?
I don't know if it's chromosomes, but I
know
want to say it's like sets.
Yeah, I think that chickens have more chromosomes than humans. Let's see.
Oh, yeah, they definitely do.
Chicken chromosome count.
He's Googling.
Yeah. Let's see here. 39 chromosomes for chickens. So, that's huge.
So it really takes some narrowing before you start seeing issues, but that's just genetic issues. Mm-hmm. There can be plenty of other factors, bacterias, illnesses. I saw somebody say, go back to YouTube for a second.
Oh, sorry.
It was a comment. I've had chickens for 10 plus years, numerous weird diseases that I've nursed them through. It's, you just never know.
Yeah. And not only that, but a vitamin deficiency in a chicken, in a hen, that as they're laying an egg, during that development process, even a vitamin deficiency can lead to birth defects.
Yep.
So that's another thing. I didn't mention that earlier. Let's see, who was that asked? It was on YouTube, wasn't it? Tracy, I think. Yes, Tracy. That's another thing. It could be diet related. So check your flock's diet, especially if you've changed anything since the last successful hatch that you had. It could be something to do with that, or even feed suppliers change the way that they mix the feed or where they get it from sometimes. So I would check that as well.
Brown Thumb Nursery, I'm sorry to hear that y'all lost so many birds to hawks. Unfortunately, and I tell people, when you've got that high of predator pressure, it's one of those things you have to weigh. We've chosen to let a lot of our birds free range for a portion of the year, if not all year. Now they have a coop that they go in at night, but we know our predator pressure isn't really high. Now, if we started losing birds for something, then it would be time to lock them up and see what we need to do to mitigate that, what traps we need to put out and whatnot. But I know a lot of people that have had success with doing large runs and netting them, netting the top, or running, you can run fishing line back and forth, and the bird it can see that it can't get down in there. You can do wire, you can do the prayer flags. Soon, when we have the goat pasture done, we'll likely see less hawks trying to get anything at all, because our fences are going to be so close together. Yeah. They won't take the risk. They're very smart. Y'all know hawks are smart. Yeah. But they won't take the risk of swooping down and putting themselves in a vulnerable situation.
Yeah. If they see an animal that's bigger than themselves, a lot of times they'll just leave the area alone.
Also, we have a ton of wild rabbits and field mice and gophers. We got gophers right now. There are a lot of easier prey than our chickens out here, but I hate to hear that. I know lots and lots of people that have that problem.
Yeah, we haven't had that many issues with wild predators.
Mm-mm.
What we've struggled with is folks that won't keep their dogs at home, that let their dogs wander, and so
Or that they get dumped.
or they get dumped. Yeah, they.
We're
some
in the
of them
country,
are,
and so we see that a good bit.
yeah. So, it's one of those things. I understand when you live somewhere kind of almost rural, because we're really more suburban than rural, but our area is kind of wide open around us, and so I get that people have been letting dogs wander for a long time, and it's even part of the farming culture at some level to have your dog keeping your property in check. But if you don't have enough property to keep your dog busy, then it goes off into other people's property. And I'm not talking about livestock guardian dogs here, because those aren't the ones we've had trouble with. We've had trouble with people's dogs who they come onto the property, and honestly, it's not the dog's fault. The dog thinks it's playing, or the dog is hungry, and that's when they go after the birds. And so it is absolutely it's human error that causes that. And so
it just means we've had to invest in better fences, even when we didn't necessarily have the funds to do so when we were first getting started with this. But you do what you have to do, and I've been outside at night running barbed wire to try to keep things off of our property. And you do what you have to do.
Yep.
But we did lose all but one duck of our first duck flock, and we had around 12 at that time, and it was heart-wrenching. And it'll make you really, really mad really fast. And very upset, and especially when you have a baby who is upset that something has happened to her ducks.
Yeah, and it's frustrating when you feel like you're doing all of the right stuff, and somebody else is just kind of not
and not
caring
to say
or not thinking.
We don't even know who the dogs have belonged to.
Yeah, a few folks we've talked to, a few folks we've actually caught the dogs and given them back to the folks. No animal that comes onto the property is a one-time offender, and that's it for us.
No.
Everybody gets a second chance at least, and
And I've been
get
thankful.
more than that.
I've been thankful that the ones we've had more than 4 show up, that we've been able to get them right back to their owners. And I've had to call animal control too. And the ones that gave us just the worst time, they didn't belong to anybody. They had been dumped, and they were running at large, and
I mean, in fact,
couldn't catch them in a trap. It was rough.
the dogs that have actually belonged to neighbors that we've been able to connect with, or that we've already had relationships with, those issues get sorted out. We do have some really good neighbors in our area that take care of those things.
Those losses have been 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And
that's another thing, is they're not the ones that have done the most damage. But the neighbors have been very accommodating when it comes to their dogs coming on the property. But the ones that kind of just roam wild all the time, that's just...
Well, it's unfortunate for the animal itself, too. It's really unfortunate for the dog. It's not right for them either. So we have grace in those situations.
Oh, yeah. And we're not just piping mad anytime we have to reach out to a neighbor or find one. We're happy when we can find their home, because then we can say, okay, this can't happen again. Please fix the problem. And normally people do. And that's as far as it has to go. And so we like whenever they can go back home and be safe. So, but we definitely have to watch out now that it's getting colder again. We're going to have to keep an eye out, because dogs do roam further when it's cold, and food is more scarce when it's cold. So we'll keep an eye out for predators.
I heard coyotes the other night, but we've got some fields across the street, and that's where I'm hearing them. They're not over here by us.
Yeah. Does anybody have any other hatching questions or chicken questions or anything like that? Would be happy to give whatever information we have. Just as a quick reminder, this is a small incubator that we use for small hatches every now and then. It's great because Eleanor can see everything that's going on, and she can actually be in charge of these little incubators because they're so easy to use. This is the Nurture Right 360. Is it Nurture Right or Nature Right? I always get those. Nurture Right 360. We like it because it's easy to clean. It's got the automatic turner that automatically shuts off, and just because it's a good quality incubator for its size. So
Judy, I talked about the egg turner staying in earlier. I don't usually let them hatch with the turner in, but we turn the turner off at lockdown, and it's just in there for this hatch because I did not want to open the incubator and take it out when I would have had to take it out, which was after the chicks were pipping. So not typically.
We've really only left the turner in there like once before. Now in our big cabinet incubator, our GQF incubator, a lot of times we will turn the automatic turner off for the day that the chicks are supposed to hatch. But there is a special area in the bottom where you put them to hatch out. So they're not actually on the trays still when they hatch. So when
we'll be showing y'all a lot of that in the coming months.
And so when we turn that off, it's just because the bottom tray will dip down into that area some if you let them keep going. So
it hasn't been a problem though.
But this one we really like because it automatically shuts off. There may be that setting on the GQF, and I just haven't found it or looked for it.
We don't use it that way.
Yeah, and we run it with several different clutches of eggs in it at any given time.
It ran from January through June without ever being cut off last year.
It did. Or earlier this year. I think that was
this year.
Right?
Sorry, this year. I don't know what year it is.
And we tried to get our hands on one for months last year. And so that was when we had lots of different types of incubators running. The Farm Innovators incubators, those are the styrofoam ones. We had these Nurture Rights going, and it was a lot.
Eleanor keeps asking, somebody said she's going to be so excited. She is so excited. She has seen them, and she keeps asking me if we can get them out yet.
Yeah.
And she knows I like to leave them in there. I like to leave them in there at least for 48 hours because I know they're in a consistent temperature environment. And if you ever hatch chicks and you move them to the brooder and you notice, maybe one is a little lethargic, not acting the way that it needs to, put it back in the incubator. It is the best place for them to stay at the temperature they need to be, and you'll see them perk up. You can put food and water in there if you absolutely want to. But incubator is a great place for them to be for as long as they can be to ensure they get that good start.
And I mean, even once or twice we've fired up one of the Nurture Rights to use as kind of a holding area for chicks that aren't doing really well right out of the egg. And so instead of putting them in the brooder with everybody else, or keeping them in the bottom of the cabinet incubator.
We did that with Marshmallow, the call duck. He hatched this year on Easter weekend, and he had a difficult hatch. He had kind of shrink wrapped in the egg, which means the moisture was too low, and the membrane, it was kind of stuck to him. His eye looked really funky. He looked pitiful, and now he's this beautiful white call duck. Mary Carl gave us those eggs that time. But he stayed in the incubator for just about a week, just in one of these Nurture Right 360s, so I could keep an eye on him and we could baby him. And he ate and drank in there without any trouble. We wanted to handle him a lot too, but Eleanor's already biting at the bit to get her hands on these babies. But it's going to be at least tomorrow, at least tomorrow evening before we do that.
Yeah. Robin on Facebook says that they used to do this for the kindergarten kids at school, and they would foster the chicks, Robin would, until they found homes for them, and they enjoy watching them hatch. Yes, we actually have done that with Eleanor's school once, and we'll probably have an open invitation for teachers there.
They usually do it in the
know.
spring.
Yeah. And because that's another great thing about us having several of these smaller incubators. We did sell most of our smaller incubators when we got our cabinet one, just because we didn't need them anymore. They were going to take up space. But these nurture rights we held on to because they are just excellent little machines, and they work so well with kids. And so being able to supply the incubator and the eggs for anybody that's wanting to do a hatching project, whether it be a local school or one of our friends, was huge for us. That was something that we were really excited to be able to do, and we love being able to do that for our friends and for schools in the area. Because there's so many kids out there that are people, really. There's so many people out there that don't get the opportunity to see these chicks, like things hatch.
Our neighbor has a bunch of family up in New York City, and one of his little nieces came down, and oh my goodness, her walking through the backyard and down to all the animals, she was just in awe of the animals and the chicks, and they were here at a time where we had a lot of chicks. And we use the chick house when we're growing them out, and I open the door and they all just come running out in a stampede. She's like, oh my goodness, look at all those chickens. It's a wonderful thing to get to experience, and it's hard work, but it is a lot of fun, and we enjoy it.
We're always just so glad to be able to share those things with others who are just in different situations. So, just have different things that they have different opportunities to learn about different things in different ways, and so we like to be one of those opportunities.
The kids at the school were absolutely hilarious. So I went earlier this year in the spring. Eleanor's class was going to do a hatching project, so I took all of the different colored eggs that we get here on the farm, and I held up a blue egg and a brown egg, and I said, are both of these chicken eggs? And they all, no. So they had never seen eggs that color, and a ton of people haven't, but they loved learning. Just her kindergarten class loved learning about the different colored chicken eggs and how long it takes to incubate, and I had a chart for them to check out, and they had their own little countdown. They loved that, and her teacher ended up taking home the chicks because she has chickens, so that worked out really well.
While we're thinking about it, we're going to go ahead and post this link to the incubator. Not because we're worried about, this is our Amazon affiliate link, and so if you use this, we will get a commission. It's not that we're worried about that. That's not why we're providing the link. It's so that y'all know what we're talking about. So don't worry about it. We don't want anybody, we're not trying to push it on anybody or anything like that. This is just an incubator we really like. So
it was our first incubator.
It was. And
our first incubator. We've been using this one for 2-3 years.
Yeah.
It'll be 3 years in January.
My estimate earlier was around 15 hatches.
Have happened in there?
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
At least.
And so so we know that they hold up. The instruments, the thermometer and hygrometer are pretty spot on most of the time, and we do test them every now and then just to make sure. But yeah, that's we like these. So
we gotta talk about our schedule.
Yes.
I'm not trying to jump in. So we said we were going to have a hard cutoff time at 7 o'clock. We're going to go a few minutes past 7.
Yeah.
We are so sorry that our lives have been 2 hours, because that's not acceptable. They don't need to be that long for us or for y'all.
I'm not sorry. I enjoy being with y'all and talking. And the back and forth that we get to do on the lives is so great, and it gives us an opportunity to connect with y'all in a way that we just don't get the opportunity to connect very often. And so one way that we're going to go about connecting more in the new year, I'll just go ahead and throw this out there, no specifics or anything, but we are going to do some in-person events next
Well,
year.
we can share.
And so, Pedals from the Past will be doing a couple of events that we will be a part of. Good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. And so we look forward to that, and we're always up for listening to folks that want to we're up for invitations to those sorts of things and have had a good time at the ones we've done. So, but also we're going to continue to do these lives at least every so often. But
we're
I'm
trying
not
to do
sorry.
it once a week.
I'm not sorry that they've lasted 2 hours because I enjoy it too much, and I know that there are some folks out there that enjoy it too. So, otherwise you wouldn't hang around that long.
No.
But Jacqueline's sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So we are going to be changing our video schedule. I know that doesn't matter to most people, but we have been doing Mondays and Thursdays, and we have really struggled, especially around this fall and going into the holiday season, getting a video out on Monday. And so we're going to be moving to Tuesday and Thursday rather than Monday and Thursday. So our videos will be a little bit closer together. But what that'll be on Tuesdays, you'll get, whatever's happened on the weekend and Monday. And then on Thursday, you'll get whatever's happened Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we are going to change to that. And we're still going to try to do our Wednesday live, our peak of the week at 5 p.m. on Wednesdays.
And that'll be really maybe just this month and maybe next month. Because we do have church on Wednesday nights, and when church starts back up in the new year, we'll have to either reschedule those or just cancel those for a while.
We may go live on Mondays.
Yeah.
If that, but we'll just see.
Yeah.
We'll just see. That's the beauty of this. It's fluid and.
Yeah. And we will try to have a schedule for one live a week or something like that. But it will always be subject to change, of course, because y'all know how it is. Y'all know we're busy folks. But
Thank you, Gloria.
Yes.
We love chatting with y'all
thank
too.
you.
Obviously.
Yes.
We're here. But we are here and we love to talk. We are gonna have our full-length episodes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and tomorrow is Tuesday, and so tomorrow is going to be all about our new goat that we got this past weekend, and her name is Willow. It seems like Eleanor is okay with her name staying Willow.
Yeah, I think so. I think
and the main
we're
reason
there.
the main reason we are saying she's going to stay Willow is she knows her name.
Yep.
She recognizes her name, which is awesome. And the farm she came from Farm Light Homestead, and she's over in the Northport area here in Alabama. And Willow was her first Nubian goat that she ever got. She makes goat milk soap and beauty products, beautiful and wonderful smelling stuff, and we have tried it before and we really like it, and we've been out to her farm. So Willow is Honey's mother, Honey that we already have, our little female, our doe, who's only like 6 months old or so. It is her mother, and they are all getting along wonderfully, and Gravy loves her.
Yes.
Not in like a girlfriend way either, because
they're
fixed.
Already.
He's like, he loves to get right next to her head, and he'll take his nose and put it under her ear and just kind of like lean his head into her face. It's so cute.
Yeah. Now she does want them to know she's the boss.
Oh yeah, she's in charge.
And so she does. Headbutt just some and pushes them out of the way some. But I think she's just reminding them, hey, I'm bigger than you. I'm in charge here. And I don't think there's any, malice behind her or anything like that. But they really do seem to be meshing really well. Tomorrow, on our video tomorrow, you'll get to see a little bit of them interacting. You'll see her headbutt Biscuit, I think. But it was just because she's letting them know I'm the boss.
She's gonna keep her top of the pack, and that is also why Jennifer over at Farm Light decided to rehome her. So she was the biggest goat that Jennifer has. All of her other goats are mini Nubians, which is a Nubian crossed with a Nigerian dwarf, or Nigerian dwarfs, and that's what she prefers to milk as well. And us, we're all about the big goats, so she checked with us when she was thinking about rehoming Willow, and we were pretty much an immediate yes. So she's fitting in well, and you can really tell in the video too. I've been saying to people a lot, our goats are babies, and that's why we've kept them in the small pasture that they're in, that little plot, because they are babies. And now you can really tell how baby they still are, because next to her they look like little dwarf goats. They don't look like a full-size goat, but they're just babies.
Yeah, she's significantly bigger than all three of them, but we're thinking that as they grow, they'll all wind up being a pretty similar size.
Yeah. Honey may end up being a little bit smaller, but Biscuit and Gravy are definitely going to be as big as she is, I would say. Their dad was bigger than what Willow is, and then their mom was about the same size.
Yeah, so they'll grow into her, I guess. And just as a reminder, Biscuit and Gravy are both wethers, which means they're fixed. So they will not be looking for that sort of companionship or activity from Willow. It was almost...
There may be some behaviors, but they won't be fruitful.
Right. And today, when I was out there, Eleanor and I went out to film with the goats a little bit today for tomorrow's video, and it made me think of the Lost Boys and Peter Pan, when they're like, "You brought us a mother."
A mother?
A mother. And so maybe Willow's out there reading them bedtime stories or telling them bedtime stories.
She has the quietest little meh. Like it's like a whisper. It's like a whisper of a baa. You know, like meh.
Yeah, she is very vocal, but she's not all that loud.
It's so quiet. Yeah. And what I was telling Zach, usually when I'm getting them hay, I'll go to their pen first and I get their bucket that I get the hay in, and I walk to the barn to get the hay, and they're just screaming at me the entire time. Well, there were like 2 little yells, and then it's like she made her little meh sound, and they all matched her sound, and they all got quiet like her. So I wonder if that's something with herd dynamics too, because that was so interesting. They always, I mean, people have heard them before, because Biscuit and Gravy are always, they're screaming. It sounds like ma over and over. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, all right, folks. Thank y'all for hanging out with us. Like we said, there will be a farm video out tomorrow, and so those will start coming out on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we'll get our header images and all of that changed so that you'll have that reminder anytime you visit the Facebook page or the YouTube channel.
And if you love our videos, we ask that you share them with your friends.
Yeah.
That is the biggest and the best way that you can support anybody that does YouTube or puts out content on social media, is to share their content so others can enjoy it. So it can reach people that will also enjoy it.
And we have been so blessed just by word of mouth from so many of you and our friends on different YouTube channels, just folks sharing with friends. That's how we have met so many of you. So thank you for doing that. Several of you share our stuff a lot, and we are so very appreciative of that.
We see it.
And we always love comments as well. Those help us not only help us with, YouTube, Facebook stuff, but also it helps us know that we are connecting with people, and that's super important to us. So.
All the chicks have gone to sleep.
Yeah.
They've all gone to sleep. Well, y'all have a great night.
Yeah, thanks so much, farm friends. Check in with us tomorrow for that farm video, and then again on Thursday. You'll get to see lots about the goats, especially Willow. Eleanor and I took her around to meet some of her new farm siblings today. So you'll get to see that. She wasn't too sure about the pigs, but she felt a little bit better about the chickens, I think. So, but y'all check that out, and we look forward to talking to you in the comments of that one, and we'll see you next time we do a live as well. Thanks so much, farm friends. Y'all have a great night.
Good night.